it seems that the Knicks just made a decision. They're going to get Ed Pinckney next week because they got every other Villanova player who ever lived. They went and made a trade for Mikal Bridges and I'm not joking here. Was it 5 first-round picks? Only 4 of them protected?
No, I think 5 unprotected first-round picks and pick swaps.
My bad. And pick swaps.
Yeah.
For a guy who's never made the All-Star team.
For a guy that we're not sure how good he actually is, right? Like Mikal Bridges, I think, is a really good, I won't say high-level role player. Would that be the most like proper, accurate way to call him like a 3-and-D guy? Well,
except for the fact that when he first got to Brooklyn, he was able to put up like 26, right? Like he seems to be a guy that I think that he is, yes, an upper echelon role player may be the way to put it. But if you're an upper echelon role player who can get you 30 in a game where you might need 30, and that might be the guy that he is, and not just 30 because I'm hot, but like might be able to go get you 30, then I feel like that's a step above, right? Like what we call, is he in the Chris Middleton class? I guess is what we're saying. Like Chris Middleton at his best. Are we talking about a player of that caliber? Because if we are, that's not a bad guy to have.
I think that's probably the best comp. I mean, I looked at the numbers last year when he had the 26 games after the trade from Phoenix. And yeah, he averaged 26. This past year, he was shooting something like 43% from the field. He didn't, the volume wasn't there. So now you're asking the question, with all those other guys around, with good players around him, with Jalen Brunson around getting the majority of the attention, is he going to be able to fill in there? I got bigger questions that go outside of these Villanova Knicks, though. I'm looking at ESPN. They walking around like it's the Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen deal all over again. I'm like, I got questions, dog.
Well, to be fair to ESPN and just about everybody else, right? Because this is not just going to be about them. What is happening here, and like, I'm not like big brothering you on this per se because we have a similar frame of reference. I'm just saying it's been a long time, so I would understand if it is that you have forgotten what it looks like in the media when the Knicks are good. This is what happens when the Knicks are good. We are going to say that you added Mikal Bridges, and what the Knicks are, what they appear to be, a handful of low spades. They seem to be a handful of low spades. They got a lot of trumps, but I don't see a joker. I don't see a deuce. Now, look, we just saw Boston win a championship without a big joker. You could make an argument that they got a little joker and a deuce, right? Like you could make the claim that they got that. You could decide which one of them is which, but we'd all agree they don't have a big joker, right? I feel like the Knicks do not have a big joker, and I can't tell if Jalen Brunson is a little joker or a high deuce. But the problem is, if Jalen Brunson ever finds out that we had this level of skepticism, I get the feeling that he gonna do us like your boy Steph be doing me and you, and then this will be the thing that propels him, and then next thing you know, Jalen Brunson is the top 3 MVP.
I don't think we got that to worry about. I don't think we got to worry about him. I don't think you got to worry about him tapping me on the leg and saying not bad for a system player. I don't think we got that to worry about, right? Yeah, he said, that shit was absolutely both insulting and entertaining at the same time. And I'm like, bruh, that is not what I said. But I get that you guys are psychos and you're going to hear what you're going to hear, and it's going to be interpreted that way. Now, to Jalen Brunson.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening, by the way.
Right?
That's right? Thanks for listening, homie.
Is Jalen Brunson a jack that walks? That consistently walks?
No jack consistently walks, though. Like, if he's a jack that consistently walks, he's not a jack.
I feel like so much of what he does is just this crafty. You know what I mean? And here's the thing. We might have just seen a jack that walked in Jaylen Brown for a whole series.
I mean, let's be real about this. If the argument is that if you are a walking jack because your game is prompted by like craftiness and shiftiness, then Luka Doncic is just a really big jack by that argument, right? But I think that we would agree that Luka Doncic is a little joker. Actually, he's a big joker, right? Like we would contend that Luka Doncic, having him does not necessarily mean that you're going to cover your bid. But you got a book right? You know, walking into this game, you got at least one book if you got Luka Doncic. I had to admit to Monica the other day when I had her on here, and you probably didn't make this kind of mistake because you're an encyclopedia about this stuff, but I owe Jalen Brunson an apology because I didn't think that Jalen Brunson was 6 feet tall. For some reason, I had convinced myself that he was one of these 5'11 dudes. And I would be like, you can't win with a guy like that as your best player. Like, I was adamant, you can't win with a guy his size putting up that high of a usage. Never mind the fact that if he was that size playing like he was, he'd be Allen fucking Iverson, right? Nope, I had not done that math at all. I had just decided that this dude was just too small. Bet he like 6'2". He's perfectly reasonable for the position that he plays.
He's like a broad 6'2". Like, you think that he was Isaiah Thomas the Lesser, right? You think that he was 5'9", Isaiah Thomas, by looking at his stature, because he doesn't carry himself like a bigger dude. It's just because he's so broad across the shoulders, you think he's one of them full force types. You know what I mean? You think he one of them dudes that just shows up somewhere. You're like, man, you ain't as tall as I thought you were. Except he's taller than you think. Is he the best player on an NBA Finals team with that level of usage and having everybody else subsequently fall in line? Because OG Anunoby wants touches, and Mikal Bridges ain't coming there just to be a Jordanaire. You know what I mean? Like, these dudes want the rock.
Okay, so with the presence of these guys, because they ain't played that many games with OG, and when OG did play, they played very well, right?
Yes, they did.
In the presence of those dudes, does Jalen Brunson's usage change? Is his usage a function of the situation? I think his usage can change. The only thing is, and this is something to keep in mind with a coach like Tibbs, I think Tibbs gets a bit of a bad reputation about offense. Like, if you go look at the Chicago years and look at them offensive efficiency, there's actually a little more variance than you would expect. There are actually points where they were an offensive team more so than a defensive team. Like, it goes up and down with him. However, if you allow Tom Thibodeau an easy button of offense, which is we just going to run the Bel Air, we saw him do it with Derrick Rose. We'll see him do it. Like, maybe that's what he does with this guy. It's like, okay, I could spend all this time racking my brain trying to figure out how to get these buckets, or I could just let this dude go do it himself. All right, let's go work on some of this defense, eh? Okay, cool.
Well, see, the thing with Tibbs is this. It ain't just what you're going to do offensively with Jalen Brunson. You just brought him a dude that don't miss games. Tibbs is like, yes. Oh, we're going to test that theory. We're going to test that theory on the first day of training camp, dog. Like, he don't miss games. He plays all the minutes. He's like a perfect Tibbs player in the way Mikal Bridges we're talking about here. But, baby, Bo, can you imagine Mikal Bridges misses a game? You know what we going to say? We're going to pull out that game of operation, and we're going to say, Derrick Rose's knees, Joakim's shoulder. We're going to look at everybody's body part that Tom Thibodeau has claimed. And there's a saying that we have in Detroit, Bo. It's real morbid. Someone dies. Before we get to the funeral, you know, we ask in Detroit, who did the body? As in, what funeral home did he go to? Like, there's like three good ones and one that's kind of like, I don't know about that one, right? Tibbs is basically the equivalent of who did the body, because he's going to figure out how far you can go, like that Hart and DiVincenzo. I want to see, Bo, what those dudes play like next year. The bill comes due on those high minute, high usage guys, not in the year that you're doing it. It comes in the year after. So I'm wondering if you can count on those guys for that level of availability going into next season. In addition to Mikal Bridges, considering that he plays all the time, and I don't think that that's going to change.
With Prize Picks, you can turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite sports this summer. You can make a Prize Picks lineup in as little as 60 seconds. You just need to pick more or less on 2 to 6 players' projected stats, and you're locked in. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make Prize Picks the #1 fantasy sports app. So make sure you go to prizepicks.com/Bomani and use code Bomani for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/Bomani. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.